Welcome to our lesson for the week for grade 7s. So this week we are going to look at mean, median, and mode of data. Note my correction, we're not doing all of that. We're doing mean and mode. This is in 7.1 here in the textbook. If you're watching this video, you should be going into the textbook and following along. So for the first one, it says that we're going to need counters. It says 3 friends compare time in hours that they spent on the computer in 1 week. Ollie spent 5 hours, Bryn spent 9 hours, and Lynn spent 10 hours. Use counters to represent the time each person spent on the computer. So it says 5, 9, and 10. So we're just going to switch our camera around here and see if I can bend this down to the table. So we've got our counters. So it says Ollie spent 5 hours. So we're going to represent Ollie in green. So there's all these hours on the computer. It says Bryn spent 9 hours. So we're going to represent that with our blue. There we go. We've got 6 and 9. And then it says that the final kid, Lynn, spent 10 hours. So we're going to use red to represent Lynn here. And Lynn has a total of 10 hours that she spent on the computer. Let's see if that lines up on our screen. Perfect. So now we've got 2 words. We've got mean and mode. Now mode is the number that comes up most often, but mean is sort of the middle point of the data. So let's take a look. If I were to say how much did each of them spend, you could kind of find a bit of an average. Like if you started to divvy them up like this, you could say, well, it looks like if I distribute it evenly, 3, 6, 8, looks like each kid spent an average of 8 hours on the computer. So here's our first example, and we're going to come back to the words median and mode, but we're going to look at the next example up on the screen over here. Let's just swivel my high-tech camera this way, and we'll take a look back at what the textbook is telling us. There we go. My high-tech production here. The next one. Alira surveyed 4 friends on the number of first cousins she has. To find a number that best represents the number of cousins, Alira used linking cubes. So here she's using squares, kind of like what we have. Looks like Kinta has 3 cousins, Orana has 4, Iluka has 4, and Atunga has 9. The mean is a number that represents the center of the set of numbers. So in our previous one, if you recall, we had the computer and we had the green, the blue, and the red lines, and we redistributed them to find that there was an average or a mean between them. Average and mean are synonyms. So we're going to use this once again and redistribute, but instead of doing it on the table, I'm just going to show you what they did here. They've got the different lines, and so they redistributed. They took some of the greens and redistributed until we could see that there was an average or a mean of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 per kid. I'll pause the video and I'll show you that in blocks. So here we've represented just what we saw in the book, but we're trying to find an average or a mean between all 4 rows. So to do that, we're going to redistribute some of the greens until they are equal. And now we see that the average or the mean was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cousins per person. So here's another way to look at it, is you can add the numbers up and you can give them a divide. So I'm going to grab a marker and do that for us. Because, I mean, let's be honest, every time you want to find a mean or a median, you're not going to grab a bunch of colored cubes and start doing it up that way. So in this case, we had 3 cousins, 4 cousins, 4 cousins, and 9 cousins. And we were trying to find the mean or the average of those numbers. So if you add all those up, 3, 4 is 7, 4 more is 11, plus 9, that's 20. If you take that 20 and divide it into 4 groups, you're going to find that the average is 5. I'm not sure when the video stopped recording, but we're going to take a look here. This is a different way to do it without colored blocks. They added up the numbers. So one has 3 cousins, 4 cousins, 4 cousins, and 9 cousins. That equaled 20. If I divide that by how many kids there were, we find that the average was 5. Or if I just take this camera and resume, we found that the average, once I redistributed, was 5. So we added them all up for 20 and divided them into 4 groups. So let's take a look at another example. It says, here are Ira's practice times in seconds for the 100-meter backstroke. So what she's doing is she's trying to see what her average or mean time is. And she's going for the mean and the mode. Now once again, mean is an average, whereas mode is the number that comes up most often. So if I take a look at her numbers here, and we're going to zoom in on that a little bit. Guess I zoomed in a little too much. There we are. So if I look at her numbers here, what they've done is they're adding her numbers up. So her numbers, she did 121 seconds, 117, 123, 115, 117, 119, and so on. When they added them all up, the total they got was 1,071. If you divide that by how many attempts she had, you will find the average or the mean of the data. And so the mean, this divided by 9 is 119 seconds. So the average or mean time that she has is 119 seconds. Mode is the time that occurs most often. So this is where we look and we see if there's a number that's coming up more often than the other ones. I notice that 117 comes up 3 times, which is more than any other number. Since 117 comes up the most often, that is the mode of the data. So mean is like an average. Mode is the number that comes up most often. So we'll just do a couple of quick examples. Number 1. This says use linking cubes, 3, 4, 4, 5. We're trying to find the average. That's where, once again, we're going to redistribute them. If I do it symbolically, I can add these up. 7, 11, 16, and 16 divided by 4 means the average is 4. The average of these numbers is 4. Calculate the mean of each set of data. Remember, mean is an average. So once again, I'm going to add them all up. So I've got 2 and 4 is 6, 13, 17, 25, 34, 46, 50, and that's 60 overall divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 60 divided by 10 is 6. So the mean or average is 6. Now if I was being asked to find the mode of the data, I would look for the number that comes up most often. And I notice 4 comes up 1, 2, 3 times. So I would say 4 is the mode, but 6 is the mean. I hope this helps. Let me know if I can help you with your assignment.